After my mission failed, I changed everyone's memories. I made Ryan their real husband and father. Then I started over. I got married, had a child. 5 years passed. Then, the system's alert suddenly chimed in my ear. Host, the original target has gone crazy. She's recovered her memories and is about to track you down with her daughter. I turned around, and there they were, Jessica and her daughter, blocking the door to my studio, their faces dark. Why did you leave us? Why does everyone say our husband, our dad, is Ryan? When the system's alert went off, I was on the phone with my baby girl. Lily was telling me her teacher taught them how to bake bread today, and she'd secretly brought one home for her daddy to eat. On the other end of the line, Christina pretended to be mad. Why not for mommy? Mommy can have some too, but daddy has to eat first. Lily's voice was so sweet and tiny, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. The smile was still on my face when the familiar system alert went off in my ear. Warning, warning. Target out of control. The system's voice was full of apology. Host, I'm sorry. The original target is out of control. She's recovered her memories and is about to find you with her daughter. This was my mistake, I admit it. If you need, I can arrange for you to fake your death, free of charge. You can go to another world and start over. Fake my death. 5 years ago, when I found out Jessica had a one that got away, that she could never get over, and that even our own daughter wanted him to be her dad instead, I did think about faking my death. But now, I looked at the warm family photo on my phone's lock screen and shook my head. No thanks. My life now is good. The love I'd always longed for was now my everyday reality. I didn't want to give it up. I'm a closer. 12 years ago, I was given a mission to come to this world and win over the second female lead, Jessica. If she gave up the male lead and fell in love with me, I could return to my original world and get my life back. Back then, I'd been in a sudden accident and was in a coma. Taking the mission was my only choice. The system said Jessica was an SS tier target, very hard to win over. To move her, I became a certified nutritionist and made her a different specialized meal every day for 3 months. When she broke her leg chasing after the male lead, I comforted her, stayed by her side, and helped her with physical therapy. Finally, a year later, she proposed to me, saying that meeting me was the best thing that ever happened to her. In the 2nd year of our marriage, we had our first child. I named her Hannah, hoping for a life full of joy. On her first birthday, Jessica held my hand and said she hoped we would grow old together with generations of our family around us. I thought the system must have glitched for not telling me the mission was complete. I even thought that living out my life happily in this world would be a fine outcome. Until one ordinary night, Jessica forgot to log out of her messaging app on her computer. Jess, I'm back in the country. I've been through a lot, and I finally know what I want. This time, can we give it a real shot? The message was from Ryan, this world's original male lead, and Jessica's one that got away. 7 years ago, he'd left Jessica to go abroad for his career. She'd raced her car trying to stop him, only to crash and break both her legs. I'd spent a whole year helping her recover. I thought they had cut off all contact. I never imagined they were just keeping it quiet. The message was in their childhood friends group chat. The same friends who always called me bro were now egging them on. It's about time, Jess. You two star-crossed lovers have finally made it. When we first got married, I had asked Jessica to add me to that group. She said it was just for her childhood friends and no one added their spouses. She also said I'd met everyone in it, just a bunch of guys talking about nothing important. I clicked on the member list. They were all people I knew except for one, Ryan, the group admin. His profile picture was a photo of him, wearing gold-rimmed glasses, looking elegant and focused as he read a book. And Jessica's profile picture just happened to be the cover of a book. I once asked her why she used a book cover for her picture. It was so stuffy. She said it was to pray for good fortune for me and our daughter. A wave of nausea hit me. Just looking at that book made me sick. Ryan's return had the group buzzing for a long time. Half an hour later, Jessica finally, hesitantly, typed a message. Leo has been very good to me and my family. I can't bear to hurt him. But do you love him? I don't think so. I didn't see the part about not wanting to hurt me, nor did I pay attention to the group's reaction that followed. All I saw was her saying she didn't love me. When Hannah was 4, Jessica was in a power struggle with her older sister at the family company. To help her land a key project, I flew 50,000 miles in 1 week, sleeping only 3 hours a night. The project was a success, but I had a heart attack from overwork and had a brush with death. In the hospital, Jessica held me and said I was the person she loved most in this world. The person she loved most, but not the person she was in love with. To Jessica, love was responsibility, a habit, but it wasn't a spark. Because there was no spark, the system never told me the mission was complete. The truth finally clicked into place. I opened their private chat. Jessica cherished every conversation with Ryan. In 15 years of knowing him, she hadn't deleted a single message. 7 years ago, when we got married, Jessica messaged him, "I'm marrying someone else. Are you sure you're not coming back?" Ryan replied, "I have dreams I can't give up." 6 years ago, just after Hannah was born, Jessica sent him a photo of the baby. "I give up. You said you didn't want to be tied down by a child. As long as you come back, she can be our child." Ryan, "I will definitely treat her like my own daughter." After that, their chats became more and more frequent. For 7 years of marriage, Jessica took our daughter to Australia to see him every single year, under the guise of a vacation. They followed each other on all their social accounts. On Instagram, they looked like the picture-perfect, loving family. My mother-in-law gave him the watch that symbolized he was the son-in-law of the Liu family. And that group of friends who used to joke around with us? Behind my back, they called me the poor schmuck who was just keeping her seat warm. The absurdity made me laugh. I asked the system, "So, does this mean my mission failed? Can I fake my death and go to another world for a new mission?" After working my ass off for 7 years, I didn't want to end up heartbroken and back in a coma. The system seemed hesitant. "Host, you don't have enough points to travel to another world." However, it seemed apologetic for not warning me earlier. I saw the director's plan the other day. With the second female lead's marriage, Ryan's story as the main hero of this world is over. A new target will appear in this world. If you can successfully win over the new target in this world, your mission will also be considered complete. But this time, the target is SSS tier. The difficulty is much higher. Does she have a 1 that got away, or an X she can't get over? No, she's the main character. Her story is all about her. There's no man in her life. As long as there's no man, I'm good. I was so done with all the ones that got away and old flames. I'd rather take on a cold, ruthless iron lady. I had the system give me a new identity to start over. Before I left, I used my last remaining points to alter everyone's memories in this world, making Ryan their real husband, father, and son-in-law. The system stammered, "Are you changing your daughter's memories too?" "Change them." Not long after Jessica sent that message, Hannah messaged her, "I heard Uncle Ryan is back. Mommy, can Uncle Ryan be my dad? He's so handsome and smart. Not like Daddy who only has a bachelor's degree. Billy's dad next door has a PhD. The mother was on a business trip, the daughter at summer camp, thousands of miles apart but both thinking of the same man." The hurt swelled in the darkness, consumed by a fire of absurdity. I pulled the family photo from my wallet, lit it on fire, and tossed the lighter behind me, burning the house and their passports to ashes. Then I accepted the system's mission and began my new task, winning over this world's new female lead, Christina. Christina was indeed hard to win over, but the good thing was, she cared about you. Every point increase in her affection level was tangibly reflected in her actions. The first time, she was being hunted in the deep mountains. I saved her. I said, "Other than money, I won't accept any other form of repayment." Turns out, there was no signal in the mountains. The next day, unable to transfer money from her phone, her affection level was forced up by 10%. She chopped all the firewood in my yard until it was spotless. Later, I took a knife for her, and her affection level rose by 30%. She knew perfectly well I did it on purpose, but she still used all her resources to completely destroy the person responsible. When her affection level reached 80%, She proposed to me. She said, "Leo, I know you might have ulterior motives, but I don't care. Marry me, and I'll make sure you get everything you're after. Marriage, children. When you're with someone who truly loves you, everything feels effortless." In a moment of passion, I asked Christina, "Why did you fall for me?" She stroked my hair, her gaze tender. "Because I couldn't help it. That was the first time I learned that love is something you can't help, not something you can't bear to hurt." On the phone, Christina was still asking if I was coming home for dinner. I'd opened my own studio over the years, work was getting busier, and my health was getting worse. Only the food Christina made herself could really whet my appetite. "I'll be home, but I'm craving crawfish." "Okay, I'll make it for you." Christina's tone was full of affection. We flirted for a little while longer before hanging up. I turned around, and Jessica and Hannah were standing at the entrance to my studio, their expressions grim. 5 years had passed. Hannah was taller, and her expression was more and more like her mother's. The 11-year-old girl stood there, looking down at me from the doorway of my studio, and asked, "Dad, who were you just talking to?" Jessica stood beside her, silent, not stopping her. Clearly, she was curious too. I locked my screen and put my phone in my bag. "That's my private business. Also, young lady, you have the wrong person. I'm not your father." Hannah seemed stunned that I wouldn't acknowledge her. She rushed forward and grabbed my arm. "I don't have the wrong person. You are my dad. Dad, I've missed you so much. Why won't you say you know me?" As she spoke, tears welled up in the girl's eyes, and she started clinging to me, trying to be cute. 5 minutes passed. I remained unmoved. In fact, her persistence was starting to visibly annoy me. Hannah finally couldn't take it anymore. She snatched my bag and frantically started digging through it, looking for proof that I was her father. She opened my wallet. Her picture wasn't there anymore. She tried to unlock my phone. The passcode was no longer her birthday. The moment I decided to start a new life, I erased every trace of her and Jessica. I even had the system change her DNA records to match Ryan's. She couldn't find a single piece of evidence to prove I was her father. All our relatives, our friends, the entire world, would only remember that the family's son-in-law was Ryan, and I was just a stranger with no connection to them at all. Hannah broke down, crying hysterically. I took my bag back and looked at Jessica. "Ma'am, you're her parent, right? You should really teach your child some manners. Going through a stranger's personal belongings is not something a well-behaved child does. I have somewhere to be, so if you don't mind, take your daughter and go." Before I could finish, Jessica lunged forward and covered my mouth, her eyes wild and red. She demanded, Why did you leave us? Why does everyone say our husband, our dad, is Ryan? The difference in strength between a man and a woman is a given. I struggled for a while but couldn't break free from her grip. I was just about to bite down on her hand. My phone rang in my bag, playing a recording of Christina and our daughter singing a cheesy song. It was from the kindergarten talent show this year, a song our whole family sang together. At first, I didn't want to set it as my ringtone, but that little troublemaker Lily lay down on our dog, Lucky, and threatened me. If I didn't set it, she'd run away from home with Lucky. I wasn't worried about her as the main character's daughter. She probably had mercenaries secretly protecting her even when she was building sandcastles. But Lucky was getting really old. I was worried his old bones couldn't handle the hardship of being on the streets. Hearing the ringtone, Hannah, who was squatting on the ground, stopped crying. Jessica's expression inexplicably brightened. "Is that a happy family of 3? Leo, you miss us too, don't you? You miss our family. Otherwise, you wouldn't use this song as your ringtone." I rolled my eyes so hard they nearly got stuck. I shook my head, dislodging her hand. "Sorry to disappoint you. My wife and daughter are completely tone deaf. My apologies if it offended your ears." With that, I pulled out my phone and answered Lily's call.
Swatia.
"What's up? Do you miss Daddy?" My voice was so sickeningly sweet even I cringed. On the other end, the 5-year-old was clearly taken aback. She must have thought I'd caught her doing something terrible, and she stammered, "Daddy. You know? I didn't mean to scare Mikey with the grasshopper. Mommy said they're tasty when you fry them, so I was just giving it to him. What? You scared a boy with a grasshopper? So much for any dad staying gentle for more than 5 seconds. No wonder her teacher messaged me today and then quickly deleted it. She must have decided my daughter was a lost cause. My voice turned sharp. Put your mother on the phone. What kind of mother teaches her daughter to give grasshoppers to boys? Christina didn't get a chance to answer. Jessica snatched my phone and threw it on the ground. What sweetie? What wife? Leo, your wife and daughter are right here. The air went still for half a minute. The irritation on my face faded, replaced by cold indifference. Once, I had also smashed Jessica's phone. It was when I discovered she had changed my contact name to Mr. Bean. At the time, they had just returned from Australia. Hannah had caught some foreign virus and had a high fever, 104 degrees, and was mumbling incoherently. I thought she was saying rub, so I was rubbing her tummy while calling Jessica. The phone rang from the garden. Jessica had left it behind. I went to get it for her and saw the caller ID clearly. Mr. Bean. I was Mr. Bean. But on this phone, how could I be Mr. Bean? Just 3 months ago, it was hubby. My gut told me the reason was on that phone. I picked it up and entered my birthday. Unlock failed. Our wedding anniversary. Unlock failed. Our daughter's birthday, my mother-in-law's birthday, Jessica's birthday. All of them failed. Just then, Jessica walked back into the room and saw me with her phone. Her brow furrowed. What are you doing? Our daughter caught a virus from abroad. The family doctor says we need to get her to the hospital immediately. Give me the phone first. Why did my contact name change? Just give me the phone. In the ensuing scuffle, I slammed the phone to the ground. Why do you take her to Australia every year? Why can my mother-in-law go, my father-in-law go, even your damn friends can go? But I can't. Why? Was my contact name changed to Mr. Bean? Back then, I thought the system had malfunctioned and had already bet my entire life on this family. For 6 years of our marriage, Jessica took our daughter to Australia for vacation every year, but never once was she willing to take me. The vast southern hemisphere had become a forbidden land for me. I could go to England for negotiations, to France for art exhibitions, to Africa for aid work, but I could never, ever go to Australia. And for all of this, there was never a reason. Anxiety and confusion exhausted me. I squatted on the floor and sobbed. Jessica walked over to me, looking down at me from above. Leo, stop acting crazy. It's ugly. How ugly was it? My thoughts returned to the present. I looked at the furious, disheveled Jessica before me. You're right. It is ugly. Because of the years of memory disruption, Jessica's mental state had deteriorated. She had dark circles under her eyes and looked like she'd lost a full size. She was probably wearing the suit I had custom made for her 5 years ago, hoping I would recognize her. The broad shoulders of the suit now hung empty, making her look like a paper doll. Hearing me call her ugly, Jessica's pupils shrank. She looked at me in disbelief. Leo, what are you saying? I didn't answer. I just called security. While they restrained them, I slipped away. I'm grateful to her for teaching me that not every question gets an answer. Behind me, Jessica and Hannah were still shouting. Leo, have you lost your memory too? We really are a family. I'm really your wife, and she's your daughter. Brenda, the head of security and a former mercenary who used to work for Christina, slapped her across the face. You're insane. When I got home, Christina had taken off her suit jacket and was in the kitchen, wearing an apron, making crawfish. Hearing me come in, she poked her head out and greeted me with a fawning smile. Honey, you're home. I made the crawfish 3 ways today. Garlic butter, salted egg yolk, and spicy. You've got options. Lily came trotting over to help me with my bag. They both thought the phone had cut off because I was angry. The fragrant smell of crawfish filled the air. I walked into the kitchen. Next time, don't teach our daughter such weird things. You ate grasshoppers back in the day because times were tough. Now, with all the pollution, she could get sick. Christina nodded. I know, my dear husband. That night, Christina pressed me down on the bed and whispered in my ear. I hear someone was bothering you today? My body tensed up. And no, the moment I said it, I wanted to slap myself. Brenda was her person. She probably knew the second Jessica and her daughter set foot on the property. Christina playfully twirled a strand of my hair. No, it was just a couple of random people. I didn't want to worry you, so I didn't say anything. I gave in, burying my face in her chest and acting cute to make up for it. When I took this mission, the system told me that with Christina, lying and hiding things were major no-nos. Someone who fought their way out of the darkness hates betrayal above all else. But those 7 years with Jessica left deep scars. I could never bring myself to fully entrust my body and soul to a woman again. Christina's hand moved from my neck down to my waist. Random people, sweetie? Are you sure? Because I heard the little one called you daddy, and the big one called you husband? Her hand tightened on my waist, and she bit down on my collarbone, leaving a mark that belonged only to her. Who those two were, whether we had a past connection. She had probably investigated it all thoroughly the second time Lily called me. Christina hadn't found anything, but I had lied instinctively. A lie like that was more infuriating to her than the truth. A storm of emotion erupted in the darkness. She covered my mouth just like Jessica had, her fingers slightly parted, allowing only muffled, involuntary whimpers to escape. As the first ray of morning sun hit the bedroom, Christina leaned down and nibbled my earlobe. Leo, don't let me find out you're lying to me. Otherwise, I don't know what I'll do. Christina loved me very much. The system had clearly told me her affection level for me was 99%. But 5 years had passed, and that last 1% showed no signs of budging. I didn't even know what the problem was. She could trust me with her life, tolerate all my theatrics, even die for me, but she just couldn't give me her heart completely. And until the progress reached 100%, I couldn't leave. The next time I woke up, Christina had already left for work. On the dining table was my favorite strawberry milk and a defiant apology note. I was wrong to hurt you last night, but you shouldn't have instinctively hidden things from me. So we're even. I don't want to fight with you. I'll bring home a little cake for you tonight. Don't be mad at me, honey. At the bottom, there was a little drawing of a person begging for forgiveness, clearly something Lily had forced her to draw. I could just imagine the two of them, mother and daughter, writing that note together this morning, scratching their heads. Yesterday's unpleasantness vanished completely. I folded the note, about to call Christina to soothe her worried heart, when my phone suddenly rang. A man's voice, both strange and familiar, came through. Is this Mr. Leo Bean? Is now a good time to talk? It was strange because I had never spoken to him directly. It was familiar because that night I went through the chat logs. I had listened to so many of his voice messages. In the VIP room at the Imperial Room, Ryan was dressed in an Armani suit, his expression friendly. When he saw me arrive, he quickly had his assistant come over to take my coat. Mr. Bean, right? I heard my wife and daughter came to see you yesterday. I'm so sorry. I've been so busy with work these years that I've neglected them. It's caused some confusion in their memories. They keep thinking their husband and father is a man named Leo Bean. As he spoke, he poured me a cup of tea, his eyes studying me. To be honest, and this is embarrassing, they've mistaken many people over the years. I have to deal with this sort of thing several times a year. Ultimately, it's our fault. On behalf of my wife and daughter, I apologize. We clinked our teacups. The fragrant, high-end green tea went down in one gulp. I knew why he wanted to see me today. The moment the system told me Jessica and Hannah had recovered their memories, I guessed that as the world's original male lead, Ryan's memories must have been stirred up too. He probably had frequent dreams about his past. In his dreams, he was full of ambition but had achieved nothing. He'd mistaken a pearl for a fisheye. His current identity, status, and wealth all belonged to another man. He was just the third party in someone else's marriage. He'd had countless paternity tests done, but his wife and daughter still insisted their husband and father was someone else. After a while, even he started to get confused. Maybe the family's original son-in-law really was named Leo Bean. I took a sip of tea and put the cup down. An apology isn't necessary. I lost my temper yesterday and had your wife and child thrown out of the complex. If there's nothing else, I should get going. My wife is waiting for me. You have a wife? Hearing I was married, Ryan's dazed expression tightened, and a flicker of joy he couldn't hide crossed his face. When did you get married? Do you have kids? Then he feigned composure, adjusting his tie with a hand that wore a luxury watch. I just feel a connection with you, Mr. Bean. That's why I'm asking. Seeing his flustered state, I suddenly felt a wave of sadness. I used to be just like him. Because my wife was distant, because my daughter wanted another man to be her father, I was trapped in a spiral of self-doubt and anxiety. Mother and daughter would disappear for periods of time, and in some place unknown to me, it was as if they had another home. Life is a cycle. The forbidden land that haunted me 12 years ago had now, through the tunnel of time, enclosed him. Ryan looked at me, his eyes hopeful. We got married 5 years ago. Our child is 5. Hearing this, he let out a long sigh of relief. The rest of the meal was unusually pleasant. Ryan had wronged me in the past, but in my own way, I had made him bear the consequences for the rest of his life. He said Hannah was very filial, that she even prepared him special stomach-warming tea because she knew he had digestive issues. I said Lily was the same, and she'd even learned to make herbal soups from her mom for me. A bowl of herbal soup every day. I can't possibly drink it all. Can't finish it. Huh? Can't finish it. Ryan's expression was sheepish. Just as we were about to agree on how happy we both were and that our families should stay out of each other's lives, the door to the room was pushed open. Jessica stood there, holding Hannah's hand, her face a mask of fury. Who told you to bother him? A minute ago, Hannah was the world's most dutiful daughter in Ryan's story. A minute later, the girl was punching and kicking the man. You're trying to break up our family again. It was because of you that Dad left us. You're just the other man. It's all your fault. All your fault. The color drained from Ryan's face. He couldn't maintain his composure anymore and shoved Hannah away. Enough. Your grandparents, even the maids, have all told you that I am your husband and your father, but you refuse to believe it. We do a paternity test every single month. You spend half the year looking for Leo Bean. Do you not believe we're a family? Or do you not believe that Leo Bean has nothing to do with you? Tears streamed from his eyes. The same breakdown I had experienced 5 years ago was now replaying itself through him. I pulled out a tissue, wanting to wipe his tears. Jessica blocked my arm. Don't. He's emotionally unstable right now. He might hurt you. She wouldn't let me near him because she was afraid he would hurt me. Was that the same reason she never let me set foot in Australia? How ironic. I handed the tissue to Ryan, turned around, and slapped Jessica across the face. You're a monster. You're disgusting. If I hadn't left back then, if I had stayed and confronted them, would she have treated me the same way she's treating Ryan now? The one she likes, she protects with everything she has. The one she doesn't, she tosses aside like a dirty rag, too disgusted to even look at. The thought that I once wanted to spend the rest of my life with someone like that made my entire future feel bleak. I grabbed my bag and fled the scene. I never wanted to have anything to do with people like this again. Seeing me run, Jessica and Hannah chased after me, all the way to my front gate, before stopping, out of breath. Leo, you might not believe this. Everyone's memories in this world have been altered, including your own. 5 years ago, we were a family. You were my husband and Hannah's father. Hannah chose that moment to step forward and hug my arm. Daddy, don't leave me. I'll be a good girl from now on. I wanted to tell them I hadn't lost my memory, that I was the one who had changed everyone else's. A bark interrupted, and Lily's sweet, tiny voice piped up from nearby. Daddy, are you cheating on Mommy with another kid? On the landscaped path by my gate, Christina stood with a cake box in one hand, holding Lily and Lucky's leashes in the other, her expression unreadable. I had told Jessica from our first encounter that I was married, that I had a wife and child now. But they didn't believe me. Now my family was standing right in front of them, alive and real. Jessica looked at me, her voice strained. They are? I walked over, took Christina's arm with my left hand, and held Lily's with my right. Allow me to introduce you. This is my wife, my child, and my dog. Hearing himself introduced, Lucky let out 2 happy barks, which made Hannah jump back in fear. Actually, Hannah used to love Lucky more than anyone. When she was 6 months old and nothing could soothe her crying, only the little puppy bringing her a jingle bell could stop her tears. When Hannah was 3, she was bullied by an older kid in the neighborhood. Lucky, despite being beaten by the other family, limped over to protect his little owner. But when she turned 4, Hannah suddenly told me she was allergic to dog fur. How could someone be around a dog for 4 years and only then become allergic? I insisted on taking her to the hospital for a checkup, but Jessica stopped me. What's more important, the child or the dog? That one sentence sealed Lucky's fate. It was only after reading the chat logs that I learned it wasn't Hannah who was allergic to dog fur, but Ryan. They got rid of Lucky simply because Ryan had found dog hair on them that year. Dogs only remember kindness, not grudges. Seeing guests at the house, Lucky instinctively started wagging his tail in greeting. I patted Lucky's head. "You silly dog." Jessica's lips trembled. "Is that Lucky?" "Yes." I took him back. Lucky was the puppy we adopted together on our wedding day. Back then, Jessica joked that he was our eldest son. But in the face of her one that got away, even her eldest son was just a dog. At this point, what was there left for Jessica not to understand? I had taken back our old dog. I remembered our past. It wasn't that I didn't know we were once a family. It was that I simply didn't want them anymore. The dog left the people who didn't love him, found a new home, and a new family. Jessica gave a self-deprecating laugh. As if accepting her fate, she led Hannah to the other side of the path and forced a polite smile. It seems we really did have the wrong person. Hannah's eyes widened, wanting to protest, but Jessica dragged her away. A month later, Jessica sent me a letter. In it, she told me she had transferred all her company shares to my name, saying it was what I deserved. Ryan, unable to distinguish between memory and reality, had been admitted to a mental health facility. Hannah had cut ties with the family and moved to the UK. At the end of the letter, she wished me a happy life, saying this belated acceptance was her way of compensating me. Just as I had once accepted her choice, she wished me a beautiful life, with my true love always by my side. Holding the letter, I sat on the rooftop with Lucky for a long time. In the distance, the city lights twinkled under the bright moon. The unique hum of this world filled my ears. I had been here for 12 years. I'd had 2 wives, 2 children. Were my parents 12 years older too? A gentle breeze messed up my hair, and a pair of large hands tucked it behind my ear. Christina sat down next to me, holding a small piece of cake. "You're unhappy?" "I'm not mad about what happened today. Okay, maybe a little. But if you just explain, I'll believe you." She was always like this. A top-tier business queen who commanded respect everywhere else. But in the game of love, she was willing to play the loser for my sake. No, that's not right. It's precisely because of the inequality in our financial status that she had to play the loser. Because she was afraid of my insecurities, my anxieties. The inequality between men and women is common in relationships today. But she chose to step down, to dull her sharp edges, to balance the unsteady scales for me. I hugged her, my voice muffled. I was married before. I figured. And I had a child with someone else. I know. Christina hugged me back. If that's what you were hiding, then I can forgive you. If you miss that child, you can bring her to live with us. Everyone has a past. All I want is your present and your future. But Leo, am I really in your future? I froze and looked up at her. Her dark eyes were filled with stars and deep affection. I know you're not from this world. I know that once the progress bar hits 100%, you'll leave. Fireworks exploded in my mind. I proposed to you because I couldn't help it. I have my career, you have your life. I thought even if you left later, I would have no regrets. As long as you're happy, as long as it's what you want, and as long as it's something I can give. But Leo, the woman's hand caressed my face. I can't bear to let you go. I think it was one morning, I saw you and Lily sleeping so peacefully, and I suddenly didn't want to let you leave. My life before was all about leveling up and conquering challenges. Then I met you and I had a home. The system's alert suddenly chimed in. Mission successful. Progress at 100%. Does host wish to exit this world? Christina gave a bitter laugh. Go back, Leo. 5 years was enough. A week later, in a bustling 21st century shopping mall, I was helping my parents pick out some clothes. Because I completed the mission, the system gave me a lot of material rewards. I booked the best retirement home for my parents and bought them the most secure pension plan. That jumpy, over-the-top system sounded another alarm. Danger. Danger. World barrier breached. Host, this is bad. Your wife and daughter tore through the dimensional barrier and are coming for you. Does your system always have security breaches? Are you sure it's working properly? I turned around. Christina was holding a container of crawfish, Lily was holding a small cake, and Lucky was holding my bag in his mouth. Their faces were grim. I told you to go, and you actually went? If we didn't come looking for you, were you really never coming back? I rushed over, fawning over them, and hugged the 2 people and 1 dog. Of course not. I still have 1 mistake compensation from the jumpy system. I can go to any world I want. I was planning to get my parents settled and then come find you. Lily was pouting. I poked her cheek and pointed toward my parents. Say hi to Grandpa and Grandma. Grandpa, Grandma. Christina, meeting her in-laws for the first time, was at a loss for words. Lucky, eyes wide, wagged his tail furiously. Here, in this world, I finally had a real family.